If there are those who oppose any of the proposals, we ask that you contact your stake president.
For a good whipping. Travis Wayne Goodsell. Deuteronomy 18:18. I will raise them up a prophet from among their brethren, like unto thee, and will put my words in his mouth, and he shall speak unto them all that I shall command him. Yesterday morning, Monday, that's today. After uploading the Saturday night creation based on the blasphemous transformation rumors, did you check the theme song in the description below? I posted the Dallin Harris Oaks presidency, and then went and did my morning video, compelling Mormons to believe the truth. For which the Mormon YouTube employee that evening then cyber attacked me, refusing to check that video. So it was in the afternoon. The checking system on YouTube is designed to specifically prevent processing of videos to make them shown to other people. It's a cyber terroristic attack by YouTube. And it's not supposed to happen because YouTube has their guidelines that they would never be involved in biased targeting cyber terrorist attacks. And yet they do. And so knowing that Mormon employees work for YouTube, yeah. These Mormons, Max C., Mary, and they refused to allow themselves to be identified yesterday. There are 5 billion people ahead of you. Are you wanting to wait still? Bleep you. Because Mary learned the hard way last time that I purposely do that so that I can get a case number and a name. And they did not want me to know the name of the Mormon employee who did that to me. And yet, this comes just a week after Oaks and his telling you to love your enemies, which we can also say adversaries. Lucifer, Satan from Hebrew. And this is Mormons. This Mormon YouTube employee heard Oaks' conference talk, especially through my videos. Especially in that video. And yet, despite orders by the living prophet of Jesus, did you make the pattern match? Deuteronomy? I just read it at the beginning. The Mormon refused to obey their master and still attacked their perceived enemy, me. This is Mormonism. Mormons have to be compelled to believe the truth. They are incapable of learning for themselves. They must be physically put to rights. Because they will not learn from teachings and persuasions. Yes, I'm quoting somebody, Willard Richards, claiming to be a Danite, writing it in the church history. to overthrow Joseph Smith. Exactly. The Mormon Church branch off of Brigham Young are the Danites. And this is how they teach Mormons to act and behave exactly like their ancestors, the Danites, who murdered Joseph Smith and destroyed the Book of Mormon. And so in that video, no notes, no script. I showed you there was no script. And even for today, these notes, this was from yesterday. See the theme song in the description below? I found out after and then did the Perseid thing. And so that was shown in the picture in the video. Because I was going over it and went, oh, there's a second Passover in the coming Jewish month of AR. And so I checked and, oh, Numbers, chapter 9, verse 11. And this is what we're going over today. Because I found out about it yesterday in that video while talking for, how long was it? 2 hours, 13 minutes, 47 seconds. It's what came to mind while doing that video. You must pay attention to my video if you want to survive. Joseph Smith, second vision, verse 40. Notice the pattern match. Notice he says that he's not born yet. Notice what the church says he is. So, Friday, I think, the local news, and I have it covered up as to which one it was, probably KSL, because it doesn't look like it would be KUTV2, and so it's not ABC4, because they're distinctive also, and it's not Fox, so yeah, it's most likely KSL. Came out with the new law in Utah to teach in the grade schools, public school education, the Book of Mormon. And I think I covered it in yesterday's video, or if not on Saturday's video. We all know it's for the Book of Mormon, even though the video clip from YouTube said, oh yeah, the Bible, yeah, they can do the Bible. Are we really seen as stupid to you? In Mormon, Utah, and you're talking about, oh yeah, we can now teach the Bible in school now. Do you really think we're that stupid? Maybe. But you're beaming moding. Because you opened up a Pandora's box. But maybe the teachers are going to be too stupid to figure it out and are only going to treat it as a seminary class. Oh, we already know all this from seminary, teacher. No, you don't, kid, if they were to teach it correctly as literature. Now, supposedly, they're saying it's for sociology classes, not for literature. Again, who's stupid? Nonetheless, there are some problems that will emerge if the status quo continues and we get more and more anti-Mormons in Utah and in the public schools. Because they will do it, and they ain't gonna do it like a seminary teacher. Right, Sister Freeman? So, yes, if this were to be done correctly, the Book of Mormon as literature, you have to see it in the time period that it emerged. And that's exactly what Joseph Smith tells you to do. Because the Book of Mormon is published and put out for Mormons with the start of the church on the 6th of April, 1830, which means the Book of Mormon is to those who joined the church. From there until now, that's who the Book of Mormon is for. That is the audience intended by the Book of Mormon. This has to be acknowledged. You cannot say, oh, it was an ancient record, he was doing a literal history of his people. No, you can't do that. Not if you're going to do it correctly. And so, American history also needs to be taught in the context of the coming forth of the Book of Mormon. Joseph Smith's personal family history needs to be discussed. Taking notes because this will be put into the pile for reference. I've already got these notes. I don't have anything added to this other than the pictures that I've made and the research that I've done without taking notes, because I've got the files for the research. And so it must be understood in this context that it's to those who joined Joseph Smith's church in the context of American history of the brand new government that was formed, in the context of a national security threat. Because when you're doing the real research on the real history, the Book of Mormon got started in Canandaigua, New York. York writes Ontario Lodge number 23 because of an incident that occurred on 9/11. Ooh, that's an important date in American history. 1826. Doing the research on the Book of Mormon of necessity leads to checking that out. The evidence leads the investigation. You don't create an investigation and let that lead. Right, Tyler Robinson? Yeah, that will be at the end of this video. Because again, the nation is smarter than the local press. The nation knows Tyler Robinson didn't do it. And the local press is still trying to prove that the prosecution has a case against Tyler. No, they don't. They're guilty of the crime. And they're being abusive in their position under the color of law to frame and blame somebody else for what they are covering up as co-conspirators. This is the evil that the nation already recognizes. That the prosecution and Governor Cox, who are both Mormon, are covering up the real assassination of Charlie Kirk with this fraud of a sham against Tyler. And there's more to that, as we'll get to it at the end. But you probably saw the picture at the beginning, so assuming I remember to put it in. It's in pole position to be put in, so I shouldn't forget it. But never say never. Never. And so, doing this research, you also have to go over the plagiarisms in the Book of Mormon. It cannot be ignored. There are over 36 different contemporary works within the Book of Mormon. That cannot be ignored. Are you sure you wanted to do this, Utah legislature signed into law by Governor Cox? Mormons? This is a piece of literature. It has to be studied as such. And oh look, plagiarism. And so yes, sorry John Welsh, you get to be exposed as stupid. Again. To remind all generations how stupid you are in forming Mormon apologetics. Chiasmus in the Book of Mormon. Yeah, plagiarism from the late War of Napoleon. There's a whole website without a key going over it. He has it all color-coded and forgot the key. Nonetheless, yeah, this has to be explained. The kids have to know. Yeah, the Book of Mormon contains plagiarisms. We teach you not to plagiarize, kids. Don't do it. You must reference. And there's Chiasmus of the late war. You have to explain it in its context. In the New America, with that incident on 9/11/1826. And so yes, you need to know and understand Jewish Kabbalah. You need to know York Rite's Knights Templar. It's in there, especially the rewritten 116 pages from 9/11/1826. This must be studied as part of Book of Mormon literature class. This cannot be ignored. You cannot let this go. If you are going to be a teacher, you must do this. It's now the law. And so, also with the plagiarisms, as I've been pointing out, the teachers must recognize the additional information in the context of the plagiarized material. Because yes, there are plagiarisms from the Bible, and then there are corrections of the Bible passages, of the falsely translated Bible passages. And so the majority of you might know about charity from Moroni. Chapter 10, is it? I just covered this the other day because I lost Kimberly over this. Because the church lies to us and says that the Book of Mormon is literal history, therefore it can't be plagiarizing any contemporary works when it was written. And so Mormons see and interpret wrongly the passage in Moroni and saying, oh yeah, see, it's exactly like it is in the King James English of 1 Corinthians chapter 13. And so when they watch a TV show or a movie with a wedding and one of the people quotes 1 Corinthians 13, they don't say charity. What? That's strange. I wonder where they're getting this from. It's not in our Bible. They say love. Because every other Christian group has gotten rid of the King James Version and got a new translation and corrected charity, which is not supposed to be charity, it's supposed to be agape, which is love. The pure love of Christ. Oh, wait, that's what is at the end of Moroni. After plagiarizing 1 Corinthians 13. This has to be analyzed in the literature of the Book of Mormon. Do I have the authors? I moved the picture into position specifically for this. Contemporary authors there. There we go. It's on there. And so another one that everybody has missed is right there in the beginning of the Book of Mormon and in Joseph Smith's visions. Isaiah's Christ, the name is Emmanuel. It's not Jesus. Are you really that illiterate? And with third graders who are now known on record as illiterate in Utah, yeah, this is going to be a problem for our kids. They will not comprehend this. It's too complicated, teacher. I'm getting stressed. I need my emotional support animal. I only need a pass-fail grade. I'm participating. Psychologists have destroyed our public education. Thanking their American liberators from World War II, Nazi Germany. So, in verses 8 through 10 of 1 Nephi, chapter 1, we have the calendar date and clock time from Revelation chapter 12, and in the Joseph Smith translation, which moves verse 5 to verse 3. And so, who is the person described there? He's described as the sun at noonday. But this is also the exact same passage of Isaiah. I give unto you a sign, a virgin shall conceive and bear a son, and call his name Emmanuel. But in Matthew, a dumbass Christian added, which interpreted is God with us. Oh, hell no. It's not in Isaiah, and it's not in the Isaiah plagiarized in the Book of Mormon. And yet with charity, they ignore that it's supposed to be translated love and not charity. But with Emmanuel, God with us. It's not plagiarized from Matthew. It's plagiarized from Isaiah, and it doesn't have God with us. And yet, but there in the Book of Mormon, again referring to Isaiah, and now they're calling him Emmanuel, not Emmanuel, but the sun god at noonday. And so who appears to Joseph Smith in the first vision? Father and sun god at noonday. Who appears to Joseph Smith in the second vision about the Jewish Messiah, who has yet to be born? The sun god at noonday. Yeah. Why don't we just go all religious texts? There you go. The Joseph Smith Visionary Account can also be taught in the public school system here in Utah. Oh, a big can of worms. Pandora's box. The devil went down to Utah. He was looking for a soul to steal. Oaks got up at conference and said, "You must love him." And Mormons refused to obey. Exactly. The Christ of the Jews, whom the Jews are waiting for and looking for. And Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon says he's going to be a Mormon. This is what the kids now have to be taught. That Oaks is a false prophet. Remember? They're stupid in the legislature. This is the literature study. And so, yes, there are many other corrected translations from the falsely translated, Christianized Bible, restoring the original Jews. And because it refers to Revelation, as there's an actual scripture that says that it's from the book of Revelation, 1 Nephi chapter 14, 27. Right? Sister Freeman? Yep, I have it on the screen here. Alright. We'll start in verse 20. The angel said unto me, Behold, one of the 12 apostles of the Lamb. Behold, he shall see and write the remainder of these things. Talking about Nephi's tree of life, iron rod. Revelation chapter 12. Verse 5, that got moved to verse 3 in the Joseph Smith translation. And also many things which have been. And he shall also write concerning the end of the world. Why are we called Latter-day Saints again, Mormons? Because the gospel is so true? Book of Mormon teaches the truths of the restored gospel, the higher law of Jesus. Are you sure? Did you even read your Book of Mormon? It talks about the end of the world of the civilizations being talked about. And yet, here it is in the Book of Mormon, referring to John the Revelator about the end of the world. And so, yes, as literature, you have to pay attention to Joseph Smith's introduction, where he says this is not literal history. This is written in the spirit of prophecy and revelation. Prediction of the future with the day and the hour. Sorry, Christian, Joseph Smith in the Book of Mormon correct you too. We do know the day and the hour. They put it right at the beginning of the Book of Mormon. The latter days concerning the end of the world. Now, do you see how stupid the Utah legislature is? And Governor Cox for signing it? And the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints for not saying, what the bleep are you doing? Don't you dare! But we're doing it because of the previous year where the Bible was banned and then somebody retaliated by banning the Book of Mormon. Let's continue. Wherefore the things which he shall write are just and true. And behold, they are written in the book, which thou beheld proceedeth out of the mouth of the Jew. The book of Revelation. The Jew. Not the Bible. The book of Revelation. The Jew. And at the time they proceeded out of the mouth of the Jew, or at the time the book proceeded out of the mouth of the Jew. That's right, we got to add the original 1830 Book of Mormon, not the current one. They cannot use the current Book of Mormon for literature. It must be the 1830 edition. 1830 edition. That's what I was trying to remember from my run. Because it's too complicated to carry the post-it notes and trying to write while I'm running. It just won't work. So I don't even try anymore. So yes, things do get lost, forgotten because of that. But because we're doing the video, it was able to be brought back to memory. And so the big one that I caught as I tried during what the hell happened? Why didn't the fall, the transfer of authority, and the Exodus happen? And so I started to try to do other projects that would normally be done in Zion, the New Jerusalem. I've been holding off on. And going over the original 1830 Book of Mormon to put it into a scripture formatting with footnotes, corrected footnotes. I came across Lehi's Tree of Life vision, in which there was a whole line that didn't exist, which is in our current one. And that is that he's telling his family to come unto him. And then the current one adds, and partake of the fruit. A big difference in literature meaning. In the original 1830, Lehi is the tree of life, for which his family needs to hold to the iron rod to get to. Their father, the man like Moses, with the key and the gifts and powers of seer, prophet, revelator, translator of Paleo, Hebrew, and Egyptian. Spirit, S-P-R-T, acronym. This must be taught, because the spirit pattern is all over the Book of Mormon, as I covered in that video too, yesterday, going over King Mosiah in Omni, meeting Mulek. The Mulekites, technically. Mulek apparently is dead. Literal history, so true. So true. The fall of Jerusalem and the Mormons who refused to believe Lehi and got destroyed and survived and had to flee. Compelled to believe. consequences of not believing and being compelled to leave, with the destruction of the end of the world. And at the time they proceeded out of the mouth of the Jew, or at the time the book proceeded out of the mouth of the Jew, the things which were written were plain and pure. Translation must be correct. He's telling you right here, right now, that the Book of Mormon corrects the translations of the Bible. And most precious and easy to the understanding of all men. There are certain words as a kid that barfed me, gagged me with a spoon, shall we say. Totally not tubular. And yes, we did say those words, despite cultural people trying to claim, nobody spoke like that. Yeah, we did. On purpose. Because we saw the movie. Valley Girl. Apparently there's also a movie, The Vows. I'm not sure if I've seen that one. And then Earth Girls Are Easy. Where Jim Carrey makes his appearance without credits. And then he would go on to do the Clint Eastwood movie, Blood Code? It's the same Marvel character name, but it's different. It's gonna bug me. But it's the list of Deadpool. There it is. You make a list of your top #1 people that you can now use that specific gambling app. And it wouldn't surprise me at all if the living prophets of Jesus are in that betting app. Who's gonna die first? And if it's not, I'm disappointed with you guys. I've been doing these Deadpool videos for 10 years now. Right, Nelson? And Holland and Ballard. But Monson, yep, right there in Revelation chapter 12, verse 4. Bye-bye, Monson. I warned you. You didn't listen. Right, Oaks? I had a dream, Oaks. Here we go again. Are you sure you want to not believe? Are you sure, Mormons? YouTube Mormon employee? Are you sure? I know you haven't been taught Book of Mormon as literature. And behold, the things which the apostle of the Lamb shall write are many things which thou hast seen. And behold, the remainder shalt thou see. But the things which thou shalt see hereafter thou shalt not write, because it's already written. For the Lord God hath ordained the apostle of the Lamb of God that he should write them. And also others who have been, to them hath he shown all things. And they have written them, and they are sealed up to come forth in their purity, according to the truth which is in the Lamb. Because they've described already the great and abominable church, whose founder is the adversary, who you are now commanded to love. And at that day the work of the Father shall commence in preparing the way for the fulfilling of his covenants, which he hath made to his people who are of the house of Israel, Mormons, to fix the Bible translation. The Book of Mormon was only the primer to inform you of what needs to be changed, to make the change. Joseph Smith never did it. He didn't do the Ezekiel 37 prophecy. But I'm waiting for Zion to complete the work. I've been doing these videos instead, and it's an extended 10-year mission instead of the 3-year mission that it was supposed to be. Dumbass Oaks. Worships Lucifer. Calls him Jesus. So I, Nephi, heard and bear record that the name of the apostle of the Lamb was John, according to the word of Malachi. Oh, you still don't know Hebrew after that Hebrew botch job of Oaks that confessed that we worship Lucifer, and that we should love him. Yeah, that's why they don't have translator. That's why at every single conference before I said, watch, listen, they won't say translator. Then the conference video that I would do, see, I told you so, and you don't like it when I tell you so. And then I use that clip for the videos for the next 6 months. And then it pisses you off. And then the cycle starts all over again with the next conference and the sustaining vote, which is nowhere to be found in Scripture. Invalid, as Oak says. And you don't catch it. So yes, you need to know Hebrew. You need to know Egyptian. Crap. Languages. So you need to know Hebrew and Egyptian, because even though it's in English, you need to know that they are referring to Hebrew words in their meaning as baby name meanings. And thus Egyptian, sun god at noonday, Emmanuel. This is your study that is supposed to be done on the Book of Mormon. Probably this first. And so the Spirit is explained for us in the Joseph Smith translation of Revelation chapter 12. For footnote 1a. Appendix. Note the changed sequence of verses in the JST and the added information. Don't forget that. The italics are the changes that were made. And so, moving verse 5 to verse 3, we now have, and there appeared a great sign in heaven. A sign in the heavens, everybody knows, is how we get our calendars and our clocks. Day and hour. we do know the day and the hour. They're giving it to us right here. The start of the latter days. In the likeness of things on the earth. A woman pregnant and giving birth. It's not real. It's a likeness for vision. Seer. So we have revelator. Now we have seer. And so then you have to go down to verse 7. Because we already know that this is from Hebrew, in Revelation 16. In the Hebrew tongue. Even though this is Greek. And in the Hebrew tongue, he's referring to Armageddon 1 of King David Moses III. Of the 18th dynasty David Moseses, founded by Mosiah, with the Ammon priesthood, the sun god at noonday, who went to the valley of Armageddon to battle the Hittites, and in the midst of the war, put his foot on Mount Salem. And thereafter, they built the Jerusalem temple and the palace for the kings of Salem, called Solomon by title. Solemn, Salem, peace. The N is a suffix determinative in Paleo-Hebrew if it were ever to be deciphered by anybody. For king. The Solomons, the kings of Salem. Every king of Salem is Solomon. They would have a different name. And I've gone over that with you on the traditional culture that was involved back then of the oldest daughter, single, supposedly, given to King David Moses III, for which he would take her back to Egypt. The child would be born in Egypt. The child would be raised and educated in Egypt before becoming an adult to return back to Salem to take over for his father, who was not his father. And reign on the throne instead. Okay? There's some concern that they may not have had a daughter available, and so the wife was used instead. Because of a literature study of the Bible. And the actual history. So in verse 7, we're waiting for prophecy. Because we got revelator, we got seer, we got translator. Where's prophet? Verse 7. So the woman is the church of God. And so since this is by Joseph, it's after Joseph, and thus it's Joseph's church. Because when you know the date, oh. And so the dragon is the false prophet of the church of the devil, going back to the Book of Mormon. There are two churches, Mormons. Church of the devil, church of the Lamb. That's why it's called the Lamb, because of the Book of Revelation, chapter 19. And the calendar date and clock time of that day, that scripture passage, chapter. And so look, the devil also called the adversary. They didn't translate it. from the Hebrew. And so, Joseph Smith's church, for the 23rd of September 2017, will have the Mormon who is the man like Moses, the Christ, the Jewish Christ, a Mormon, who steps up to start his supposed to be 3-year mission, getting extended to 10. And thus Nelson is the false Christ, the false prophet. And now Oakes is Lucifer. That's why Isaiah. He's talking about the king of Babylon, but in the future, because it's not literal history. It was written by Qumran community Jews. Not the Jesus of the original author in literal history, 700 BCE. No. Jesus, Isaiah. That's why Matthew screwed it up. And yep, the Book of Mormon fixes that too. And you all miss it. And Kimball put on another testament of Jesus Christ to further darken your minds and send you down the forbidden paths of darkness to the great and spacious building to drown in the filthy waters. Satan. So, the kingdom is the millennial kingdom on earth. That's why they say the kingdom of heaven. It's because they're referring to the signs in the heavens for the dates, the day and the hour. Alrighty. So the Spirit must be applied to all scriptures. And that needs to be taught to the kids now. So the kids will have to be tested on, can you identify the visionary characters? Can you recognize the prophecy for the future? The calendar date and clock time. The kids will have to be given a stellarium.org link, if not the download for their system device. Oh no, you got to give their phones back? Crap. Not just learning ancient languages so that they would know that, oh, Oakes brought out the adversary. And for Christ, anointed, which kings are the anointed ones. Come on, people. And crown, corona, where you'd be educated in the North Crown, Norco. Yeah, I'm amazed. These guys were brilliant. But, you know, comparing them to Mormons, yeah, of course they're brilliant. Mormons are stupid because the church put you in bondage to Jesus, casting you to the dark ages. And salvation, Shua, yeah, there's a whole bunch of Hebrew stuff in here. And if you don't know Hebrew, you're going to botch Michael. Think it's one, or who is like God. Not quite. Remember Paleo Hebrew? You're going to have to find somebody who can decipher Paleo Hebrew and then have a course curriculum to learn. So yes, this is a massive undertaking that nobody fully understands. So, part of the linguistic analysis, you need to know contemporary authors, the plagiarized materials, but also you have to do linguistic analysis of who wrote the Book of Mormon. because it wasn't Joseph Smith Jr. He had nothing to do with it. So they've found that Sidney Rigdon is the major author of the Book of Mormon. But he didn't get baptized until November or December of 1830. Do you guys listen to yourselves before you speak? God. How did Sidney Rigdon join the church? Through Parley P. Pratt in Palmyra. By missionaries Samuel Smith. Who, Parley P. Pratt, was of the congregation of Sidney Rigdon. And so sure enough, Parley P. Pratt is quoted in the Book of Mormon for that purpose. Some of Parley P. Pratt's works or hymns, we'd have to go over the details of what they posted. 100,000 plus have seen this. So you most likely have known about this, even though it was years ago when it was done, and you most likely forgot. I haven't forgotten. I made the pretty picture way back when, 10 years ago. And I've been using it in videos. And we're going to do it again today because of the brilliance, stable geniuses of the Utah legislature. And so you see where Parley P. Pratt was found. Dominantly in the beginning, even though it's a thick line, so it's not as voluminous as they are making it appear. But right at the beginning. So when Parley P. Pratt starts reading it, he recognizes the words in the Book of Mormon. And he's going, oh, to get his attention. And so then there's nothing, but then they throw in something near the beginning to keep him going, just in case he might start to lose interest. And then the rest of the Book of Mormon, nothing until near the end to remind him. And so the movie of Parley P. Pratt, yeah, it catches his interest and he reads it all throughout the night. And he goes right back home. Sidney Rigdon, look at this book I found. Ooh, let's all join the church, guys. Because he knows from the words of Sidney Rigdon, which dominates the Book of Mormon. Ta-da! And so what does Sidney Rigdon do when he joins the church? He's put right to work doing the exact thing that he wanted to do under Alexander Campbell's Campbellites, but Alexander said, no, we're doing it my way, it's my church. And so Sidney Rigdon left. And so at the end of the Book of Mormon, when, oh, there's time because Junior had Martin Harris steal the 116 pages, he puts in his religious views on the sacrament and baptism and that type of stuff from his version that Alexander Campbell didn't agree with. And so when he joins the church, yes, now he's put into the presidency, as it would later become, and he's able to give his sermons on the Sabbath to preach with the sacrament. He's being paid for his service. Because that was his life, preaching. And here, it's to join our religion to preach. And so Mormonism unveiled in 1834 caught on. Sidney Rigdon was the major author of the Book of Mormon. That came from Solomon Spaulding's manuscript for the template. This all has to be taught to the kids. And so who was the scribe for Sidney Rigdon? Oliver Cowdery. There he is. He makes contributions, but nowhere is Joseph Smith Jr. But they don't know who rewrote the 116 pages, because it wasn't Sidney Rigdon, wasn't Oliver Cowdery, wasn't even Parley P. Pratt, though there is a lot of Parley P. Pratt. And so that's also interesting, that the rewritten 116 pages, as you read section 3 and section 10 specifically, Sidney Rigdon is known with the Solomon Spaulding manuscript. And so that's when they decided to use Parley P. Pratt's words to then have him be converted first with the Book of Mormon in Palmyra. Right there where Martin Harris lived and stole the 116 pages to his anti-Mason committee. Remember 9/11/1826? That incident? All must be taught to the kids now. Real church history must be taught to kids. Oh crap! This is the big secret the church never wanted anybody to know. No, they'll know and understand why we have the inverted pentagrams of our Lord and Master Satan, the adversary, on the keystone of the doors of the Salt Lake Temple, and put them all around Nauvoo's temple. What the bleeping hell? And dedicated it on May 1st. Lest I forget to mention that when we get to that part for the second Passover. And the law of Purim from Deuteronomy 19, verse 19. Book of Ishtar. I amaze myself. Mormons have no clue what a real seer is. And so, yes, the historical context of the United States during this time, not just church history, must be correctly taught. And this was the paper I did. It was on the coming forth of the church under Joseph. And I was in way over my head back then, as the teacher tried to point me into other questions that I should have been asking, and I didn't know to know. But nonetheless, this is the American church. The American literature. So yes, it does need to be taught in the public school systems as literature, but the church doesn't want that. And so, because of the Book of Mormon, in it, in 1 Nephi chapter 1, you now need to know the full anthropology of the pre-600 Jewish Egyptians, House of Israel, under Egypt. Pre-Babylonian captivity Jewish Egyptians, or House of Israel, the Israelites, the whole anthropology, all of the various sciences under anthropology's umbrella. And there's nobody on the face of the earth who can do it except for one man. And the one woman who could do it is dead. She died on December 25th, Christmas Day, 2015. But she was concluding hastily by saying that the Bible is a fraud. Dorothy Murdoch. It's plagiarized. So yes, if she had been given the Book of Mormon, she would have said, yeah, this is plagiarizing the plagiarized Bible. Nonetheless, I'm the only person left on the face of the earth who can teach this information and do it correctly. So you also need to know Jewish Kabbalah. Oh crap. And New York Rites Knights Templar. So kids need to learn that. And no, it is not witchcraft or astrology. Okay. In the file system you go. So when Oliver Cowdery then joins with Joseph Jr., it's not to be a scribe. It's to be the babysitter and to get the Whitmers into the picture as well, to become the witnesses of the spiritual Book of Mormon. They saw it in vision, not literal history. And that's why they can't deny it. Even though they left the church because of the Danites in 1838. And so it is quite amusing when you do the real church history research, the videos I did on it. Because section 4, a marvelous work and a wonder is about to come forth among the children of men. Joseph Jr. is still on timeout. He's not allowed to do anything with the Book of Mormon. Still. And yet, it's about to come forth. You haven't even begun to redo it, if you're going to call it literal history. That's why it's so hilarious. They put an oopsie in there. So, and so Oliver Cowdery, he's finished. Book of Mormon is finished. So that's why they say, a marvelous work and a wonder is about to come forth among the children of men. It's finished. And so now they have to transfer the manuscript pages onto copper plates that are reversed, and that is taken to the print press to be used on the print press with the thing, and you just slam the thing down in the ink and blah blah blah, how it was done. And so that's why the copper is needed for the plates, the printer's plates. And so if you're thinking that the plates of the Book of Mormon are those copper plates, and thus the copper 50 pounds instead of the 200 gold plates, no, you forgot about the Knights Templar again. The copper was a cover story because of 1826, 9/11. The Cooper Smith shop of Smith Sr., he was able to then bring copper to make the barrels for gunpowder, because there was a potential for an uprising of a war of this enemy threat. And so thus, because the enemy laid low instead of uprising, Senior had all this copper. And from the New Israelites that he was a part of in Vermont, he knew how to forge metal. Not forge documents, forge metal. He's a smith, remember? It just slips by people's memories. Memories on the corner of my mind. Okay. So, needle pulling thread. A drink of jam and bread. So we're done with that picture. So there's another police incident this morning. Okay. AR 14th. The video inspired me to check on this. And sure enough, there it is. 14th of AR. And they put 1312 BCE because this is a Christian, not a Jew. Even though the Jews likewise were influenced by Christians, and the Rambam Maimonides did the Jewish calendar. And this is different because the Christian who's... So you really need to have somebody who knows this information put in the information, and not another person who's not a primary source document put in the information. Wikipedia just, it was a great idea, they just didn't know how to implement it correctly. I mean, seriously, checking on references, none of them are to primary source references. The people who designed Wikipedia don't understand this basic lesson that I was taught in grade school for literature and doing reports. Nonetheless, a person who knows the truth can go into Wikipedia and fix it. Dear God. And so yes, that's why the Mormonism stuff is all botched. Quoting from authors. Dear God. We've got the Joseph Smith Papers, and no Mormon will dare reference the Joseph Smith Papers. It's always authors. So this is known as the second Passover. This is why I missed it. It's not in the Jewish calendar, but is a part of it. Are you kidding me? And so yeah, it's all blank. There is no yellow highlighting or blue for the holy days and certain calendar dates for the Jews. It is not brought up, and I don't understand why, because this is for the Jews. This isn't for the house of Israel this time. If you followed me before, I think it was 2024 at the end of the year when I started covering this for you guys, and I most likely repeat it in 2025. The house of Israel fine, we'll do it. We'll go to the calendar. So let's see, it would be Heshvan, or it would be so this is the second month of the civil calendar, where Iyar is the second month of the religious calendar. So they are connected between the Feast of Tabernacles in the fall and Passover for the spring. And so 8th month or 2nd month, depending on the religious or the civil calendar. So there is a connection here. And so on the 15th is King Jeroboam's alternative feast of Sukkot, tabernacles, tents, ingathering, harvest. It's the alternative Passover. And for 2025, Stanford cursed me. What if it goes till Passover or Sukkot? No. And so, yeah, you need to understand the bigger context of the video I did yesterday with the dream that I had that morning yesterday. Is because Saturday night, knowing that Trump failed, even though I knew that the whole Iranian thing was just a con so that the church can make billions of dollars on the stock market for war profiteering, insider trading. So yeah, watch this morning when the stock market opens. It's gonna be fun. Travis told you so again. And so a week after conference, I am just bummed that we're going another 7 months. That already we're 7 years overtime. It was only supposed to be a 3-year mission for me from the dream that I had. If those of you remember who follow me. And yet, here we are, 10 years. What the bleeping hell? To be all alone, to have nobody to talk to. Talking to an empty room. In vain because of the church panicked and freaked out because of me. They don't give a damn about Alyssa Grenfell stealing Mormons here in Utah, having to shut down stakes and wards to condense the lower population of members attending church now. No, they're panicked with me. Why? Because Alyssa is not the man like Moses, with the key of Moses. She's not a seer, prophet, revelator, and translator. Guess who is? I told you so. So, the 15th of Heshvan, which is the month after Sukkot, tabernacles, tents, ingathering, harvest, blah, 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 booths. So yeah, on my mission in New York, when I'd go through the streets, especially where the Jews were consolidated or segregated, I would see these wooden additions to people's apartment buildings. And that was very strange for me. I'd not gotten to that part in the Bible yet. And I can sort of remember from seminary, but I didn't make the connection in the regular society where an occasional Jew had stuff. But in the condensed areas of the Jewish population, yeah, they're all over the place. These wooden additions to the apartment building. And it was for a feast of booths, Sukkot, tents, tabernacles, etc., etc., etc. But the one in Heshvan is not for the Jews, and so it's also not in the Jewish calendar, even though the one for Passover is Jewish, as we'll get to in a minute. Because the one on the 15th of Heshvan is King Jeroboam from the scriptures in 1 Kings chapter 12, 32 and 33. That's where he mentions it. He creates an alternative feast against King Rehoboam, if you know the story. And so Jeroboam takes over northern Israel. Rehoboam gets Jerusalem. And so new kingdom with the throne and a temple in Shechem, which there's lots of stuff involved with Shechem. Right, Danites? Are involved. Lots of spirit that is necessary to go over this with. Okay, so Numbers chapter 9 is the scripture for the second Passover. And it's for the Jews, but yet it's not put in here. Not on the calendar. So Bruce R. McConkie doesn't really catch on. Israel again commanded to prepare Passover. Cloud rests upon tabernacle by day and by night, plus a fire by night. When cloud rested, Israel camped. When it lifted, they journeyed. See, he's too stupid to want to put in a second Passover. And so, yeah, the first part of it says, "And the Lord spake unto Moses in the wilderness of Sinai." Helps to know Hebrew, Paleo Hebrew. "In the first month of the second year, after they were come out of the land of Egypt, saying, Let the children of Israel also keep the Passover at his appointed season. In the 14th day of this month, at even, ye shall keep it in his appointed season, according to all the rites of it, and according to all the ceremonies thereof, ye shall keep it. And Moses spake unto the children of Israel, thereof shall ye keep it." Oh, whoops. That they should keep the Passover. "And they kept the Passover on the 14th day of the first month." How many have been following? Remember when I talked about this? I made a pretty picture of it for you, for which I hope I remember to put it in. I shouldn't have deleted the other one, because we do need to make sure these pictures get put in. The different books of the Torah are by different Jews. Each Jew has a linguistic pattern. When you're doing a linguistic analysis of the Bible, in which they refer to the day and the hour differently, or the month and day differently. So the Genesis author has the pattern of using the month first, then the day. The Exodus author uses day first, then month. The Leviticus author uses month first, then day. The Numbers author, day first, then month. Deuteronomy author, month first, then day. So we can even go to 1 Kings, because it's down in verse 9. We'll come back to it. Bring up the hash font to get the chapter. Your buffering, annoying me very bigly. 12, 32, and 33. Okay. First one was 12, and 32, and 33. Yeah, they do month first, then day. And Jeroboam ordained a feast in the 8th month on the 15th day. So the king's author does month first, then day. Hilarious. Whoops, we needed numbers 9. Okay. So for that one, they're corresponding with Genesis, Leviticus, and Deuteronomy. You need to know these. Genesis is the setting up pattern of it's the kingly succession, the birthright blessing descent. And so there's a lot of repetition of twins and the younger twin usurping the birthright and blessing from the older twin. Not all cases. Isaac, for example, his stepbrother, Ishmael, they're not twins, different mommies. But for the most part, others are. And so Exodus, yeah, this is the full narrative of Deuteronomy's law of the man like Moses, who's the Jewish Christ to come. And so, like Moses, you go to Exodus to see how he would be like. So these are all the prophecies in vision form with the calendar date and clock times. Leviticus, yeah, that's the rituals. And then Numbers is the book of the law for those who go to Zion. Section 85. The one mighty and strong, which, yes, is the man like Moses. They didn't footnote it correctly for you. And so then Deuteronomy is the law. Month first, then the day. There is significance in that. And so in Numbers, it is day, then month for the second Passover. Staying alive, staying alive. So in verse 9, and the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, speak unto the children of Israel, saying. You see how this is done here by the Jewish author? The Lord speaks unto Moses and puts the words into Moses to speak unto the house of Israel. Deuteronomy 18, verse 18. The man like Moses will speak the words of the Lord to the people. He's keeping the pattern from the law. If any man of you or of your posterity shall be unclean by reason of a dead body, or be in a journey afar off. You've been living under a rock all this time? Yet he shall keep the Passover unto the Lord. the 14th day of the second month. See the linguistic pattern here? That's why Tyler Robinson didn't do it, KSL. At even, they shall keep it, and eat it with the unleavened bread and bitter herbs. It's the second Passover. They shall leave none of it until the morning, nor break any bone of it. According to all the ordinances of the Passover, they shall keep it. And so then they do some ritual stuff here. But the man that is clean, and is not in a journey, and forbeareth to keep the Passover, even the same soul shall be cut off from among his people. I did not know this in advance. Pay attention, Mormons. I just stumbled on a bombshell. We're an hour and 30 minutes in. Mormons already are gone. So strengthening church members committee. Oaks. Because he brought not the offering of the Lord. In his appointed season, that man shall bear his sin. And they did not footnote it. Oh, Joseph, you funny guy. Brilliant. Again, second vision, verse 40. About the Mormon who is the Jewish Christ, the man like Moses. He quoted also the 3rd chapter of Acts, 22nd, 23rd verses, precisely as they stand in our New Testament. Even though Deuteronomy is in the footnotes, Joseph takes you to Acts. For Moses truly said unto the fathers, a prophet shall the Lord your God raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me. Him shall ye hear in all things whatsoever he shall say unto you. And it shall come to pass that every soul, Mormons, which will not hear that prophet shall be destroyed from among the people. In Greek, the corrected translation is utterly destroyed. So going back, in the previous verse 39, Joseph adds to Malachi, the whole earth would be utterly wasted at his coming. There's utterly that belongs in Acts when correctly translated. He's still doing it. Being taught from the Book of Mormon to correct the translation errors in the Bible. And so there you see afterwards, in verse 42, that if he shows the plates to anybody, he should be destroyed. Utterly destroyed. But instead, he continues and says he said that that prophet was Christ. Yeah. The Mormon. Not Jesus. But the day had not yet come. Yeah, no Jesus. No duh. Constantine is the man who created Christianity, not the Jews. When they, Mormons, who would not hear his voice, which is inspired of the Lord without a script and no notes on occasion, should be cut off from among the people. It's brilliant. Because that's the Book of Mormon version of it. Which they should have, yeah. 3 Nephi 20:23 and 24. Did they combine 23 together? Yes, they did. Behold, I am he of whom Moses spake. Remember, it's not literal history. The kids now have to get taught correctly in literature class or sociology, social studies. The Book of Mormon is not literal history. You need to learn the spirit. Saying, a prophet shall the Lord your God raise up unto you of your brethren, like unto me. Because Joseph Smith makes it very clear. The day had not yet come. Him shall ye hear in all things whatsoever he shall say unto you. And it shall come to pass that every Mormon who will not hear that prophet. So can you imagine the wrath upon the Mormon YouTube employee? Silencing me, punishing me even for their crime against me that I complained about. And they retaliated with a whole hour of no views, when clearly there were views per hour to be given. Remember, YouTube's addictive. Everybody's on YouTube. And I'm getting shut up? This is the time where I should be having the millions of viewers outshining Alyssa. But because of who I am, the church doesn't want anybody to know. To murder you. To utterly destroy you. This is the Danite plot. And it shall come to pass that every soul who will not hear that prophet shall be cut off from among the people. So it's the Nephites, huh? He's now here. They better listen to him or they're going to be cut off. So it doesn't apply to second vision anymore then? You need to think. All right. Okay. All right. So, the Wicked Edition. There he is. That's why I made the picture. 1st of May. I was so concerned. How is this going to happen? What's going to happen? Is it extended? Oh my hell. Says I'm praying at my bedside, standing above in the air. I don't think I was wearing the white shirt. It wouldn't have been. I think the white shirt is today or tomorrow. It's closed. Nonetheless, I'm like, what the hell? All this time and we're just still continuing and expanding and extending this out month after month, year after year. Dear God, the enemy is so incompetent. Because I've done everything on my part. I've got more than enough for Mormons to know who I am if they just but run the test, and they still won't do it. For seer, for prophet, for revelator, and for translator, with the keys of Moses, and Mormons still deny. Even ex-faux-pimos are denying. Nobody wants to acknowledge the blatant, in-their-face truth. That was a weird tire screech. I mean, do you not understand utter destruction? Is that really too complicated for you to catch on to? A major catastrophe. So, that's why I went and checked the signs in the heavens. So that's today's. So yeah, I'm well aware of the sign of the fall of the church occurring in progress right now, as the inverted pentagram of Venus is in the sacrificial ram constellation for the fall, the cut off, as the moon is there in Aquarius right now. Paying very close attention. On the 14th, tomorrow, Jupiter no longer retrogrades in Gemini and is going to head out. I learned something about astronomy as I had to correct the one guy who made a comment talking about Jewish astrology of Kabbalah. Astrology. No, it's not astrology, astronomy. But nonetheless, one of the other problems is that from the picture that I showed about astrology is that they use the ancient designations, because our birth signs nowadays are not in the particular sign. If you were born in Aries, it's not Aries that is dominant anymore. It's a different sign. Astrologers still use the ancient version of when the earth was adjusted. And so when I did the birth of Jesus video for you, not too long ago again, going over the star chart, it's instead of the middle of September to the middle of October, for first Revelation chapter 12, verses 1 to 3, Joseph Smith moving verse 5 to verse 3. I didn't tell you, did I? The one who rewrote the 116 pages was Senior. That was my contribution. You're welcome, ex-faux-pimos. You'll never thank me. Groundhog Day. And so, back in the time when it was written by the apostle of the Lamb named John, it was the middle of August to the middle of September. And so I show you in those pictures that I did for you back in those time frame. We're going to find Jesus. When was he born? Can't find you. Where are you, Jesus? Baby Jesus, where are you? Golden fleece, baby Jesus. The Talladega Nights prayer. Where are you? Can't find you. So, yeah, Gemini, Taurus, Aries, Pisces, we're none of those. We're actually the different characters. And so it's hilarious when I talked about teasing the one person who believed that they were one sign, and I got them into a communication for which they acted out the different sign. See, when you're my friend and I like you, I have fun because I enjoy you and you're inspiring to me. So I need to put you in your place when needed. Even though at the risk of losing a friendship. But yeah, I don't memorize, and so it took me to find the Google search to show it in a picture to explain it to you, because nobody understands me, I guess, or whatever. It's a psychological fraud, like the Nazis. That's why they used it for psychology, because the original Freudian psychology was an attempt to try to use real scientific methodology, but the Nazis just destroyed that. Everything is a fallacy argument. So yeah, it's laughable that the thing on psychology that I showed you, they're trying to say, well, it's soft science. No, it's called pseudo. If it's not hard, it's pseudo. Studio. They're trying to claim, oh, we're using empirical data, and no, you're not. You can't do that with human behavior. You're not going to the evidence of the causation. You're going to the circumstantial evidence of the outward manifestation. The symptom management is what you're doing with big pharma drugging. You're name-calling bullying for diagnoses. The psychologist fallacy. They don't want to get it because it's their whole career on the line. They don't want to not get paid for that. And so yes, Utah local news are helping to advertise for this criminal operation, as we know it's criminal because of the fruits of it in Utah that's hitting the fan for the last several years. Psychologists are going to prison, getting busted for their abuses, sexual abuses even, not just physical abuses. Jody Hildebrandt, educated at BYU. And the treatment centers abusing their patients. And the St. George teens who tried to escape their abusers, and then they get caught and punished as the abusers. They flip the script to punish the kids being held hostage. And still nobody is wanting to listen to my videos to set them free. They're young. They can be detoxed easier than adults can. Right, Oaks? I do these videos and people just don't want to listen. You don't see the danger that's coming that I see and I'm trying to warn you about in all these videos. So, tomorrow, Jupiter goes on its merry way into Cancer, where it will retrograde for a pregnancy period in Cancer. It is a tumor. And yeah, babies are tumors by definition. They're a growth in a woman's body. And it ain't benign. Hilarious. So what's up with this one? Why is it over there? It must, because I was having problems with it, that's why. So this probably should be deleted. So yeah, May, okay. So the 19th also is something that you need to keep a heads up on. That's when the moon joins with Venus at the very end tail of Aries. So I'm paying attention to this date and any date coming up to it. So May 1st, May Day, May Day, May Day. Yep, when the NAUVOO temple was dedicated with the inverted pentagram of Lucifer, celebrating the founding of the Illuminati on May 1st, 1776, with Johann Adam Weishaupt and his band of 5 for the 5 points of the inverted pentagram. The threat in America on 9/11/1826, talked about in the Book of Mormon. The Danites of Brigham Young. And so, interesting sign in the heavens. Obviously, it's the full moon because it's the Passover. Start of the second Passover. But the second Passover is in a different location in the signs in the heavens. And this is pretty awesome. That I found out about after the fact, after doing the video and doing further research on it. And that's why I was having problems with the pictures that other year, is because loading the thing and saving the video was not wanting to cooperate and pissing me off. In the beginning, the system worked fine, and now AI is botching everything on purpose to force me to pay for what I can't pay for to use AI systems. Nonetheless. And so Jupiter is still making his way towards Cancer. It's going to take some time until it gets there to retrograde. And you've got Venus that's now entering onto the crown of Taurus, the transfer of authority. Remember the Exodus? Spirit. The great and abominable church of Pharaoh has to fall, and he transfers the authority to the man like Moses, so that he then can go in an Exodus with the house of Israel and get to the promised land. These are for the wicked people, or for those who touch dead bodies, or for those who are on a journey. Those who refuse to obey are cut off. the fall of the Church of Jesus Christ, or aka the adversary of Latter-day Saints. Cut off for not listening to their Christ. You're not even listening to Oaks. That's how wicked you guys are. And you blame me for Oaks? Oaks said it, not me. And Mormons still attack me. Dear God, Mormons. Am I evil? Yes, I am. I am evil. I am Mormon. And I specifically chose the Moscow version. In case you checked. And so the sun for government, because the moon is there nearing the feet of Virgo for religion, at the top of the scales of judgment, Libra. The religion judged Libra. The sun for government, you know, the first presidency that have no authority, is now in the Aries constellation. Sacrifice. And so, again, the story of the Exodus. The government falls. The religion judges them. And then there's a transfer of authority in Taurus, because that's what Taurus means from the ancient Egyptians. I've talked about it. The son becomes the father becomes the son. Transfer of authority, the Apis Bowls of Egypt, for the transition of the death of the king to the son to take over as king. But in the context of Moses, Moses is not the head of the church. He's not the son. Pharaoh, firstborn, dies, unable to restore the throne. And so the transfer of authority to Moses. The new dynasty begins. Judgment Day on May 1st, when Brigham Young pulled the stunt on Joseph Smith. Law of Purim for false accusers. The judgment is now to be done to the falsely accused, or the false accuser, that was supposed to have been done to the falsely accused. Law of Ishtar. Esther. And so there you have Mercury, Mars, and Saturn in Passover, and they're cut off. Section 85. Those of the high priesthood whose names are not found in the book of the law are cut off. This doesn't happen every year. It only happens this year. This is a one-time event in the heavens. Unbleepin' believable. So, and then of course I checked for falling stars, and sure enough, on the night of the 5th into the 6th, so the 6th made it so that I could have Aquarius upright. The peak of the Edda Aquariids are right there at the bowl, pouring out the water, cleansing, as the Danites themselves, Willard Richards, put in the Joseph Smith history to justify the forged documents. Which wouldn't be canonized until the year before Brigham Young died. They said that they were cleansing Joseph Smith and his church of the wickedness, and so thus the false accusation gets thrown back at them in the signs in the heavens. As sure enough, the curse of Joseph Smith is still activated. And if you heard me talk about it after Passover had come and gone, I then said, we have until May 8th. And I didn't know at the time, the last day of the second Passover. And so I don't want it to be extended another month after that. But looking at the potential for failure, 1, 2, 3, 4, June 6th. And I think I brought this up in yesterday's video. I recall doing that. June 6th. Do not make me go that far. Because the purpose for all of this is that it takes time. The fall of the church, it can happen in a day. But the transfer of authority takes time. The church has billions of assets that need to be dealt with for a transfer. Even though Kirtland McConkie could write it all up simply, we're transferring everything to Travis. Section 107 is the justification for it. It is the official legal protocol for the church, for priesthood leadership. And so yes, Kirtland McConkie just has to use that for their justification in the document, even though this isn't a real church. But that's what the Articles of Incorporation talk about, is that the head of the church. And so by referencing the scriptures as the protocol for the head of the church, it can be easily done. And they just say we transfer everything, all asset value, all records, all documents, all financial receipts to me. That will take a little bit longer time than falling instantly. But after that, I now have to get everything set up to then take it all to Zion, where we're going to build it. And in the same time, I need to send out the Section 133 call out to all the Mormons all around the world, and to, yes, Exfo and PIMOs all around the world. And nobody believes in me. And so it will be without my name attached to it, unless the fall and the transfer is obviously known. And Sarah interviews me with that exclusive interview. Hey, Sarah. Looking forward to tonight. And the bishops then are supposed to take over from there, because the system is already in place. There's no sense in trying to create a new system when we already have a system in place. Like Nelson botched getting rid of the home teaching program right before creeping death. Getting rid of high priests right before creeping death. They did that on purpose, if you hadn't caught on and didn't see those videos where I go over it. Oaks got leaked. It was just a test run. And so this is the time period of waiting as the bishops are interviewing the people who choose to want to come to Zion, to leave the world and come to Zion. And with close to 18, not over 17, Oaks, he's so funny. The church fell! And it did. But he was deceptive in saying over 17 million rather than saying what everybody else would do, almost 18 million. And so I got to humiliate him when the stats came out. And so this is going to take some time. It's not going to be a quick, hasty gathering because there are no places for you yet. And I don't want you to be intense. The passage in the Doctrine and Covenants, it should not be in haste, because if it's in haste, bugs. And that will lead to other problems. And it won't be perfect. But I have to factor in the human factor of imperfection. I can't do this on my own to make it perfect. It requires you. And so the ideal situation is I go in advance after having sent out the message while the bishops are gathering the book of the law together, the first draft. I go to the command center with the Vanguard Company and we set up a base camp and then build cabins, ideally, that have the utilities and all of that would need to be involved for a minimal basic living, and thus be able to care for you until Zion gets officially built and you get your inheritances in Zion. And so the people in the United States are going to be able to come to Zion quicker, depending on the bishops and those who choose to come. Whereas the people outside of the United States, we still have to deal with Trump. But Kirtland and McConkie are supposed to be required to take care of all this as part of the document transfer, the signing transfer. Because if they don't do all that is required, it ain't gonna happen. If they want to be asses, trying to be sneaky and tricky to try to steal back the church, no, it will not be allowed. So yes, if they put in a whole bunch of rambling legalese, no. Rejected. Do it again. I will not be responsible for what the church did to you if you're suing them. They will have to use their own money that they stole from you to pay the damages. Or if you choose to come to Zion, you drop the case. But there is precedent in Scripture that they will be arrested for their crimes. I'm not seeing that going to be happening. Everybody wants to let them get away with their crimes. Right, Utah legislature? So that's the initial thing. So, the news, which was only, obviously, I told you so, for Trump. Yeah, it failed. They didn't even try. J.D. Vance went there, and he purposely said they're not cooperating, so it's canceled. It's over. And yeah, and so Trump then immediately is going to take command over the Strait of Hormuz, and he's now going to toll people to use it. And we've got one more hour. I think it's 6 o'clock our time here in Utah, and so it's 8 o'clock Eastern time. So it's been going on for an hour now. And so yes, the stock market opens at 9:30, or is it 8 o'clock or 8:30? I can't remember which. Here in Utah. But yeah, he's now got a blockade in place and has shut it off. And so the stock market is about to open soon. And the church's LLC companies investing in the stock market are all ready to sell the stocks. We know it's coming. They pumped it up all last week for the fall today, even though Friday was a mix, but fall for the most part for the DOJ. Dow Jones, DJO, Dow Jones Industrial, DJI, average, DJIA, whatever it is. So yeah, I told you so. And the whole press, they're like, oh, they're having negotiations at the peace, yay! Is it finally gonna end? Seriously? How long have you known Trump and reported on him? How many times does he have to prove that you're suckers and losers? Dear God. You even covered it! Hegseth! Stock insider trading for the church! And yet, you didn't catch on. The stock market was getting pumped up last week, and you didn't catch on that now it's going to fall? Are you bleeping kidding me? Why do you have licenses? I don't understand. It's not making sense. And Orban, whatever it's pronounced, lost. This is a major shakeup in Hungary. The church got a temple last year under Orban. Not the new guy. So now the church is going to have to send out Bednar to threaten the new guy. We only have 5,000 membership. 5,274. With one stake, 19 congregations, and one mission, which contains 2 districts. And so the congregations are split up into 5 wards and 14 branches. And of course 12 family history centers and 0 bishop storehouses for the 19 congregations that are required in section 42 of the Doctrine and Covenants. So pay attention to that in the coming day, unless the fall wants to happen anytime soon. It's been far too long. See, because the longer this drags out, the more Mormons suffer, so that when those who get to Zion, it will break me. Knowing of their struggles and finally getting there. Especially little girls. The daughters of Zion. As I just keep hearing in the news over and over again of all the people who are dead in Utah, who get hurt, even little kids dead and hurt. It's gonna break me. The Mormons just don't give a damn. Unless it happens to them. Then they start to give a damn about them. I'm deeply concerned that this first wave will be a massive loss to the church. Right here in the valley. Everybody who attacked me are finally going to meet their just dessert. Swamp pie in hell. Because you didn't want to listen. That was the only thing you had to do. So KUTV2 came out on Saturday during the afternoon. I checked it in the evening. It was 3 hours previous to checking it in the evening, around 6 to 6:30-ish, because it's KUTV2. It's near the middle of all of the various ones that I check. Did the snapshot for you. Blasphemous transformation rumors. Handwritten letter could play major role in Tyler Robinson court proceedings. Not only did you not understand actus reus and mens rea, you put could as a news story. You're supposed to report the facts. You're not supposed to put could. Maybe. Could be. Why do you have a license? Oh my hell. No, if you were reporting the news, you would go, the prosecution released a handwritten letter claiming to be by Tyler Robinson. The defense still has to verify that it's legitimate. This goes towards mens rea and not actus reus that the defense is complaining they didn't receive any documents for. And still don't have. Such incompetence of people who are supposed to be professionals in the field with licenses. So, the Young Turks yesterday, checking the news in the evening. This was 7 hours previous in the evening when I checked. So it was definitely in the morning time before noon. Anna is doing this reporting, and it may have been a previous one that they finally got around to doing and posting over the weekend, because they do that. Because the bullet thing has been a long time coming. We've known about that, and that's why local prosecutors for the case came out with a mens rea instead of the actus reus. Does the prosecution, who are educated, degreed, passed the bar, got licensed, worked for a firm, not know the difference between actus reus and mens rea? Because they're not showing that they do. And so now Anna has joined the discussion with, wait, ... the bullet doesn't match. Charlie Kirk case explodes. Wrong gun. The gun kept changing in case everybody forgot. But Anna brought out something extra that the prosecution did. Prosecutors have said DNA consistent with Robinson's was found on the trigger of the rifle, the fired cartridge casing, and 2 unfired cartridges. And so, yes, a non-match to the bullet. Oops. But defense attorneys also noted that the forensic reports indicate multiple people's DNA. So again, the prosecutors are botching the actus reus bigly. So now you've got to find out whose DNA. Is it his family members? Is it his friend, his lover? You need to now identify every DNA on the weapon they're claiming is part of the actus reus, so that they rule people out. Because now they have to say, okay, the person identified without a facial recognition and without a rifle is the DNA of Tyler's. That used the bullet that took out Charlie Kirk. And they can't do it. They can't do it. Tyler has to go free. And they have to do the job all over again, and they aren't going to do it. This is the tragedy of all of this, is that they're just wasting time while Tyler is locked up indefinitely through all of this. The prosecution can't present any factual evidence that Tyler did it, and all they're doing is manufacturing crap. Because if the DNA matches to the police or the FBI, oh crap. none of it will be admissible in court, and thus they have no case. Because now the police and the FBI will be accused of planting evidence. That is the bombshell that Anna brought out, that the local news did not. And they brought out the non-match. Oh, Mormons. Mormons. So, there you go. 2.5-hour video, huh? For a Monday morning. Rainy days and Mondays always get me down. It was actually last night. Well, it might have carried over into the morning. Yeah. I was woken up to, well, sort of. Yeah, okay, maybe. AI didn't get it accurate, that's for sure. AI botched it. Dear God. Okay. I hope I remember the other pictures that I used. Look down from the screen. So yes, we're waiting for the final 4.